Showtime. Welcome to Financial Fridays. I'm your host, Glenn Cleland, aka the Intellectual Venture Capitalist. I've gone from investing in stocks to investing in students. Our topic today is passion capital, one of the SIF advantages. Who am I again? Why should you listen to me? Well, I've been on both the buy side as an institutional equity portfolio manager at New Brunswick Investment Management Corp, a multi-billion-dollar asset management firm in the Atlantic region, first in the Atlantic region. There's also a wee little sell-side analyst, Capital Markets Associate, so I've been on the sell side of the street. I've gone through getting the CFA, so I'm familiar with that also. There's also the director of the Center for Financial Studies, where I not only discovered the talent, but I developed the talent so they could get their foot in the door on the investment island. Shameless plug, the UNB Student Investment Fund program was the first in the Atlantic region, started in 1998. We were profiled in the National Post. We're also profiled in the Globe and Mail as using a market neutral strategy or hedge fund strategy that was unique in Canada. It was also called a risk controlled active management. When I left in 2017, the students had over or close to 9 million in assets under management to invest. Yes, it was real money. And with the CFA curriculum embedded in the program, we were one of a kind in the world. Now, one of the things, or one of the best books that I ever read was The 5 Things You Should Learn Before You Die. And it's one of the things that I used or considered when I used the Student Investment Fund program. In this book, an academic interviewed 300 very successful people in different businesses or stages of life. And then he found the 5 themes that were consistent through. And the one that I want to talk to you about today is be true to yourself. Those people that are successful didn't follow someone else's dreams, they followed their own dreams. And that was so critical. And as I read this book, I realized that was my mistake. See, I started off as a wee little accountant, and I found I didn't like it. And I was fired twice for incompetence. Yet I had the right work habits. What didn't I have? I didn't have the passion for what I was doing. I thought, hey, my grandpa did it, and my folks thought it would be pretty good, so why not do it? Wrong. You have to have passion for what you're doing. Then I came across the book that sort of changed my view on things. It's called Passion Capital by Paul Alous. And he talks about you need that passion capital because once you have that passion for something, it creates the energy, the intensity, and sustainability you need to be successful in business. So in this book, he talks about 7 principles you need in order to create that passion. The first one's the power of belief. You got to believe in what you're doing. So that's the creed. The second principle is the culture, how things are done around here. That's growing your belief. Courage, the strength to take risks. Brand, your promise to the world or how other people perceive you. The resources, how do you marshal them? How do you master them? The strategy, planning with passion. And that persistence. At first you don't succeed. But when I read this, I said, I've got it. We've got to use this within the Student Investment Fund program. So the creed, and you're going to read it in the book, as this is a preview for the book, is the Polynesian Rite of Passage. This was always the first story I told to incoming students, and I actually told them, I started including it earlier and earlier, so they might have heard it 2 to 3 times. And this is a story about how to get your foot in the door. That's what the story is all about. And then based on that, that's our culture. Intellectual venture capitalists, how is creating their intellectual venture capital balance sheet in order to get their foot in the door. Now, basic to the culture was mentoring. I wasn't the sage on stage, it was the guide and the sign. The first mentors were their peers beside them. They were the best of the best, so they were learning from the others. Then we had the step ahead mentors, which SIF students that just graduated that stayed connected to the program. Oftentimes they were coaching these students, getting them ready for business competitions or helping with the CFA. Then there were the traditional mentors, myself included. And so I surrounded myself with 30 professionals. So anything I didn't know, I could always push them off to these individuals. So if I had a student who was really keen on derivatives, I would point them towards my managing partner of derivatives, Greg Young at TD Securities. Fixed income, I had an expert. I had experts in all these. And so that was the culture. Mentoring was the culture. Courage, we interpret that as being initiative. What initiative do we have? We had to take the initiative Futures Atlantic Symposium because there's systemic discrimination against Atlantic-based students. There was a view out there because it wasn't in a financial center that they wouldn't get the mentoring or tutoring necessary to be able to get into the business. We had to show them that was incorrect, and so we had to take the initiative of a Futures Atlantic Symposium. We have a separate video on it, is one of the jewels of the Center for Financial Studies, where we collaborated with all the other universities, so students came to one spot, so then all the banks could interview at one time. It was brilliant, and it worked very well and was very successful for a lot of students. Financial field trips, we took the initiative. We knew that financial firms weren't going to come see us, so we had to go see them. So we took the students in different times to New York, to Toronto, to Montreal, to Calgary, to Edmonton, just to see what opportunities were out there. That's the courage. The brand, or how other people perceived us, we were career relevant learning. The whole idea was my students had to be 2 to 5 years ahead of other graduates of the program. They had to be hit the ground running for any firm that they started working for. And this was really captured in the Stairway to Employability. And we have a separate video on that. Basically, I call myself the anti-Trump, where my job was to get them hired, not fired. Resources, we called ourselves excellence on a shoestring. We didn't have the best of the resources, but we utilized them to the best of our ability. We argued it wasn't, best program wasn't always with the best resources, but made the best use of those resources. Strategy, at the time, Jim Collins was fresh out the presses, so we wanted to go from good to great, how do we become the best in the world at, and persistence, that became obvious in the annual report presentation, where we kept those part of the culture that was important, but we were always dynamic. We were always taking a look for new collaboration, new ideas. And what I learned is leadership in the classroom, which is a separate video also, where basically there's a difference between management and leadership, where you manage things, but you lead people. And that was my challenge, is I had to transform. I was a transformational leader who had to use those 7 principles to create the passion in these students. And high marks to Susan Boyce. She got the students right away at the beginning, used career leader to find out what passion did they actually have. I wish I had that tool at the beginning. And so the whole idea is the book is about how to create hope for the students, even during stock market crashes. It's all about how to get your foot in the door. But how do you keep it in the door? Well, that's why I want to follow this up with interviews with SIF graduates, how they made sure that they continued to have the skills to keep their foot in the door. So there you have it. That's the long and the short of it, Passion Capital. How this book is embedded throughout the Student Investment Fund program to improve the experience, or quite frankly, create the passion in the students so they can in fact get their foot in the door. So remember, this industry, it's work hard, play hard. During good times, you work as hard as you can. During bad times, play hard, but always remember to keep in touch. But for those SIF graduates out there and others, why am I doing this? I always carried this card in my wallet. It was from Seymour Schulich when I did my due diligence of the program. 100 years from now, it won't matter what kind of house you lived in, what kind of bank account you had, what kind of car you drove, but you might matter in the life of a young person. So remember to always give back. And until next Financial Fridays, cheers.